Today's the day I change. Or more accurately, tonight's the night I change. The moon will be full, and I will, in the immortal words of my 12-year-old son, Stone, wolf out. My name is Pember 3 Van Auken. For the past 5 months, every month, for at least one night, I've become a werewolf. I'm also an ACH dwarf, and trust me, having a chondroplasia in my life was nothing compared to the last 5 months from hell. Stone has always felt guilty about my current situation because it was on a camping trip with him that I got bitten by the wolf, or should I say the man-wolf, that caused my current intermittent canine condition. A little factoid I found out about approximately 20 days after I was bitten, and the full moon came out. You see, Stone was staying with me the weekend I first wolfed out, and had it not been for his quick thinking and fleet feet, I might have killed him or a few other people that first night. By the second night, my average-sized son, which I'd always resented him for, but could never truly find it within myself to hate him for, had it down to a science. Stone chained me up to the lead piping in the basement of my house and covered his head with a pillow as I growled, snarled, and howled all night. That worked for the first weekend, but I knew I had to have a better battle plan for the subsequent months. Stone wouldn't always be visiting me during the times of the full moon. That's why I decided, not being Catholic, mind you, to visit a Franciscan monk named Padre Pisano. Pisano occupied an old cathedral near the woods, not very far away from my ex-wife's house, where Stone lived most of the time. I confessed to the good Padre, and as I hadn't killed anyone yet, or even bit or scratched someone to cause another member of my newfound beastly brethren to be born, he decided to help me. You see, underneath his very old mission were a series of catacombs, and within those catacombs were prison quarters with no windows and doors so thick that even with my enhanced strength, when I'd wolf out, I could not break through. I didn't have much time left, as the evening was fast approaching. But as was my tradition, before every such night, I went to see Stone. As was always the case, I crept into his second-story bedroom through his window, so his mother would know I was visiting when it was my weekend or our appointed every other Wednesday night dinner. As always, I scanned the room. It looked very much like he was bound to be featured in a future episode of Hoarders. I gave him the usual arched eyebrow and look of disdain, and always gave him his look over his squalor like his conditions, and gave him what he always gave me lately, attitude. Would you believe Maid's day off, Dad? No, but I believe Maid's decade off, I said as I removed the smelly jockey shorts from the chair I thought of sitting on, but changed my mind. Why do you always do this? Do what? Sneak in to see me like it's going to be the last time we ever get to talk? This thing with the Padre is working out. Why do you always have to be so dramatic? Why have you kept my condition from your mother and every other living soul on the planet for the last 5 months? I think you think the situation is rather dramatic, too. Hey, I'm not a little kid anymore. I can keep secrets, especially one this big. Speaking of big, you know that when you wolf out, you become more than an average height, right? I do. Cool. At least I'm not a twerp when I'm a werewolf. Don't talk like that, Dad. You know I never cared about you, maybe. The rest of the world, not too sure. Why didn't you ever tell me? Well, that first night I was too busy keeping you from killing me, making sure you didn't get out of the house to kill somebody else. But I did notice. Maybe I was afraid to tell you, because I didn't want you to think there was a good side to your wolfing out. Trust me, sport, I know there's no good side to this monthly curse. It's like you got your own furry menstrual cycle, Stone said with a snicker. In the past, a snarky statement like that might have met with my small hand across his large cranium, but these days I'd have to jump up to make solid contact. So I just gave him my customary clearing of my throat, to indicate my displeasure. Well, in case anything happens this month, you know what to do. Stone sighed and rolled his eyes, as only someone approaching his teenage years could possibly pull off with such panache. Claim I didn't know anything about it. Otherwise, if you kill somebody or eat somebody, I might be considered an accessory. I got it, Dad. Do you really think I want to be known as the complicious son of the canine murderer? Did I mention Stone had an IQ of 163? Excuse me for being concerned. I thought you might miss me if I had to go on the run, I said as I pivoted toward his window and began to walk toward it. As I straddled the windowsill, I heard Stone running towards me. He grabbed me, pulling me back into the room. You better not ever do that. And if you do, you better take me with you. That's when he did something he hadn't done in the last 2 years. He embraced me. Giving me a hug these days was weird, as he stood 5'3", and my head fit perfectly under his chin. He hugged me so hard, it was almost like he sensed a dread in the air, too. And as I hugged him back, I was hoping he was wrong. I had a few errands to run, so I got out to the church later than I had planned, expecting to be greeted by Padre Pisano, but instead, "Yes, I am Padre Gilberto, and you are?" asked the fat Franciscan monk with a bad skin and the very ugly horn-rimmed glasses and the thickest Italian accent I'd ever heard. "Where the hell's Pisano?" "Padre Pisano, he's been relocated." "Relocated? Why? I need him." "Apparently, Padre Pisano was a touchy over-affectionate with some of the boys in his care." Holy crap. No wonder Pisano was so forgiving and understanding of me being a little were man, since he was a little queer man. All I could think of was how glad I was that I never brought Stone in here. "You mean Pisano was a pedo?" "Oh, no, nothing like that drastic. No. But these days, Pisano bouncing a young one on his knee, giving hugs of encouragement, a kiss on the cheek, all that. It's a no-no." "I guess that depends on which cheek he was kissing, Padre. Did he tell you about me, Pemberthy Van Auken?" No, that name didn't come up. I'm pretty sure I would have remembered it." "Look, Gilberto, you've got to get me down to the catacombs. You got to lock me up." "Padre Pisano confessed many things to me, but nothing about kinky games in the catacombs with a midget," said Gilberto, his face turning an ashen gray color as he spoke. "I'm not a midget. I'm an achondroplastic dwarf. And you've got to get me into one of those cells down there before it's too late. My son, you're upset. I can see that. And I didn't mean to suggest anything improper between you and then Padre Pisano, but the catacombs are seldom used, except for wine storage, but we don't tell the public about that." "You don't understand. Pisano and I had an arrangement. For the wine, I could get you a couple of bottles if, it's a good vintage. No, about holding me. He held you too? Maybe because you're so, child size." At that point, I let out a scream that must have convinced the good Padre Gilberto that I was the main conductor on the crazy train. "Listen, my son, it's dark already. Why don't you just let me find you a room in the rectory?" "Dark? What are you talking?" That's when I looked out one of the only clear non-stained glass windows to notice the darkening sky. It would be happening any minute. "It's not supposed to get dark already. It's barely 6 o'clock. Oh, we changed the clocks last night. Didn't you follow back?" "Apparently not," I seethed. And that's when I saw it, the full moon rising, its glow piercing the clouds, and I felt the transition upon me. I fell to the ground, writhing in pain, frothing at the mouth, as I always did during the transition. The poor Padre grabbed a crucifix and held it up to me. "I'm a werewolf, not a vampire, you idiot! Run!" From my position on the ground, I saw a very not fleet of foot Padre run in his open-toed sandals as fast as his toothpick legs could carry his meatball body. He looked like a ambulatory hors d'oeuvre. And that's the last thing I remembered from that night. The next thing I remembered, I was waking up leaning against a trash dumpster in an alleyway that reeked of urine and rat droppings. My shirt was ripped away. My pants were in tatters. In short, I looked like the LP version of Bruce Banner after a night of being the Incredible Hulk. As I rose to my feet, I noticed the taste of blood in my mouth, as though my werewolf fangs had found a victim last night. My first victim. Maybe more than one. The amnesia was common, but the insecurity, the anxiety of knowing I hadn't been locked up somewhere wasn't. My one thought was of Stone. Had I sought him out last night? Is he dead? Did I kill him? I had to find out. As I began to move, I noticed a huge flap that had been cut into the back part of my pants. The trap door, like an old-style pair of long johns, could have revealed all my buttocks. So there I ran, mooning the world as I went. If I hadn't been so worried, the absurdity might have made me laugh. I managed to steal another pair of pants from a homeless guy on the street corner before I got to my ex-wife's house. They weren't exactly my size, but over the years I've become quite expert at rolling up pant legs, and anything was better than the draft from my own ripped pants. It was Monday. Stone always had early dismissal on Mondays. I knew he'd be there alone, but almost as a matter of routine, I climbed up the trellis anyway to his window. I found the window open. I breathed heavily as I went in, hoping not to see a sight that would haunt me for the rest of my life. Instead, there was Stone at his desk, working at his computer. I cleared my throat softly, so not to startle him. He turned to see me, and the smile on his face was broader than I'd seen in years. "Dad!" He hugged me again. This time with such intensity, he picked me up off the ground, which I wasn't too pleased with, but for which I couldn't really condemn him. As he put me down, I began feeling him all over, checking his bones to make sure there were, no signs of break anywhere. "Are you all right? You don't remember, do you? Oh my God, I did come here last night. Did I hurt you? How did you get away?" "I didn't have to. You came busting in last night. Thank God my window was open, otherwise you'd have broken it. You grabbed me. For a second I thought you were going to bite into my throat. And you looked at me, into my eyes. And I saw you, Dad. I saw you in there. That's when it all made sense. That first night, Dad, you were a werewolf, stronger, faster than any kid my age. I was able to avoid you. I was able to lure you down to the basement to trap you in. Because you didn't want to kill me. Because even when you're wolfed out, part of you is still there. The part that couldn't kill me. That wouldn't kill anybody. But I had the taste of blood in my mouth this morning. I killed somebody last night. Sure you did. When you ran out of here, I tracked you. You followed me? You know how dangerous that was? I said, shaking him, angry and proud at the same time. The kid had guts. No common sense, but a lot of guts. I know, Dad, but I couldn't let you. I had to. Anyways, you ran past the bike trail into the woods. You killed a couple of deer, Dad. A couple of big 7-point bucks. It seemed to calm you down. I tried to get closer to you, but you ran away. I wasn't fast enough to follow. You did kill last night, Dad, but I think that's the only things you killed. What did you do with the deer? Dressed them in the green space, put the usable meat in the freezer in the garage. Left the rest of the woods for scavenger, just like you taught me. If we ask real nice, maybe we can get Grandma Ida to make our famous venison stew. I had to laugh out loud at that. Some was tension release. Some was the knowledge of how much he detested going hunting with me and his grandfather, my dad, Lewis, the great acrosemelic hunter. Yeah, Pop's an LP too. But it was tradition. I was also shocked at how much he learned and retained. But that was early in the evening, sport. We have no idea how much more damage I might have done before the moon set. I listened to my police scanner way into the night, Dad. Didn't get much sleep, but I also didn't hear about any murders or calls about ripped up bodies. I think you did all right last night, Dad, Stone said with a grin etched into his face that showed a mixture of pride and relief. I'd forgotten I'd got bought that stupid police scanner 2 Christmases ago. I guess everything can come in handy at some point. I pressed my forehead against his as I squeezed his shoulder, our customary intimate exchange that long ago replaced the goodnight kiss. I better get back to the church. I got a new padre to break in. What happened at Pisano? Not a story you want to hear, or I want to tell. New one's named Gilberto. Is he going to believe me? Trust me, kiddo. Pisano believed me without seeing, at least at first. This one saw first, and now I think he's a believer. I just got to get to him before he tries to tell the authorities about it, and they put him in a rubber room. I'm guessing he might just be waking up about now from all the wine I'm sure he drank to calm himself down from last night. Good luck. Hey, I got another month to convince him. Won't be full tonight. I said flippantly as I made my way out of his window. What I didn't know then, as Stone watched me walk down the block toward the church, was the huge scratch on Stone's upper arm from where I'd initially grabbed him last night. A little souvenir of his encounter with my wolf self that would come back to haunt him in a month's time.